Hey, what's going on, class? Here we go. Last week of the term. Congratulations. We've made it through just about everything. I just wanted to leave a quick little video to let you know what's going on this week. This week, the only assignment you have is the final exam. It'll be available to you until Wednesday. I have the cutoff on Wednesday just so that it gives me a little bit of time to grade it and get your grades submitted before the term is over at the end of the week. So please make sure you take the time to get that done and you have it turned in by Wednesday. It's set up the same way as the midterm exam. There's an essay question that you will get at the beginning of your 2-hour time period, and then within that 2-hour time period you need to make sure you research, construct, and write your response. So you have 120 minutes to do that. I will grade those as you turn them in. It'll be available for the first part of the week, so you can log on at any point in time and take that. And I will grade those kind of throughout the days as they come in. So the sooner you take it, the sooner you'll get your score. You'll be able to see where you stand in the class for your final grade. Final couple thoughts before we end our little video discussions that we've been having throughout the term. I mentioned last week that I thought the discussion about the IRA was interesting because you started to kind of see the different sides of terror activity. And I thought the IRA was a really good place to go to have this discussion because it wouldn't have worked that well if we discussed the white power movement, right? It's difficult to be able to look at neo-Nazis or skinheads and say, I kind of understand where they're coming from because their ideology is so abhorrent. But it is important to understand that there are two sides in these activities. And depending on what side you're on, the other side can look an awful lot like terror activity. So I had you watch Bloody Sunday last week, which shows one side of a conflict, and then read a book about the IRA, which shows another side of the conflict. And then depending on what side you're on, you kind of get to call the other side a terrorist and then build an ideology around that and use that to commit acts of violence. So trying to understand what a terrorist group is not always clear. It's not always easy to see. And we could probably do this for just about every terror group that we see around the world. We could point to that group and they could point to other people and say, they're the terrorists, we're not the terrorists. And so this week I really want you to give some thought to what a terror group is. I want you to think about that within the context of Say Nothing, within the context of Bloody Sunday. What is a terror group? Can there be terror groups that are on different sides of a particular issue? And I'll give you one final kind of closing example of that. We haven't spent much time this semester talking about conflicts in the Middle East, and I did that purposefully, as I said at the beginning of the term. I didn't want to use examples of terrorism that everybody was really familiar with. I wanted to try and explore aspects of it that were a little bit more uncomfortable and a little bit more unfamiliar. But if we go to the Middle East, much of the rhetoric that surrounds recruitment of terrorists in Middle Eastern areas is based on our activities in those areas. It's based on our behavior. So groups like ISIS, groups like Al-Qaeda, other terror groups in those areas, they will oftentimes go and recruit by saying, Western civilizations, America, they've attacked us, they've killed us. We need to protect ourselves and we need to go on the offensive or else we're going to get wiped off the planet. And so they're able to use our behaviors to recruit. So we sit from our vantage point and point to their groups and say they're terrorists. And then we try and recruit people into our fighting services and our fighting groups to be able to go combat terrorism. And it's the same thing that they're doing in their countries and in their areas by pointing at us and saying we're terrorists. And to me, that's just such an interesting entanglement of ideas that has really vast consequences. And so I thought the conflict between England and Ireland and the IRA really kind of put that in like a microcosm, was a microcosm of that larger conflict of ideas that oftentimes surrounds terrorism. So think about that as you finish out the book this week and about terrorism at large. I've really enjoyed seeing all your work through the semester. I look forward to grading your presentations and your finals this week. If you have any questions for me about anything, let me know. If not, I hope to see many of you this fall, hopefully face to face. Until then, please be safe and take care of yourselves. Again, thank you for your efforts this term.